Max Verstappen just broke a record in Formula One, and somehow Daniel Ricciardo ended up paying the price for it. Not on track, not in a crash, not in some dramatic radio meltdown, but in the quiet, brutal way F1 destroys careers when the story moves on without you. Because this isn't only about Verstappen winning. It's about what his dominance does to everyone around him, teammates, rivals, even the people who helped build the Red Bull era in the first place. And if you think that sounds dramatic, let me put it in the simplest, coldest way possible. The more Verstappen wins, the more the sport forgets everyone else. And Ricciardo? He's the perfect example of that. Here's what makes this story hit harder than most fans realize. Max Verstappen became the youngest Grand Prix winner in F1 history back in 2016, and it happened instantly after Red Bull made the brutal call to swap him into the main team. That moment didn't just launch Max. It rewrote Red Bull's philosophy forever. Speed matters more than experience, and pressure is the price of entry. When Max won that race, he wasn't just celebrated. He became proof that Red Bull's ruthless decisions were worth it. And when you create proof like that, you create consequences. Because right after that moment, Red Bull stopped being a place where you build a driver. It became a place where you either deliver now, or you get replaced by the next weapon they've been sharpening in the background. That record-breaking win was the start of a new era, but it also lit a fuse under the careers of everyone who shared space with Max in the Red Bull system. Especially Daniel Ricciardo. Now this is where people get it wrong. Fans remember Ricciardo as the smiling, fun guy, the late-breaking assassin, the guy who could make even the most serious paddock feel human. But what they forget is that Ricciardo was also the driver who made Red Bull believe they could beat anyone without fear. He was the one who kept the team alive when things got messy, when Mercedes were dominating, when championships felt out of reach. Then Verstappen arrived, and the entire team identity shifted. Because Max isn't just fast. He's structural. He changes how a team operates. He changes how the car is built. He changes how strategies are called. He changes what good enough looks like. And once that happens, it becomes almost impossible to exist beside him without being pulled into his gravity. Here comes the pattern interrupt. What if Ricciardo didn't just lose pace? What if he lost the entire environment that made him dangerous? Because the moment Verstappen became Red Bull's center, the team naturally leaned into his style, his preferences, his direction. That's not politics, that's survival. Teams build around their sharpest weapon, and Max was sharper. So the more Max became the face of Red Bull's future, the more Ricciardo became something F1 quietly punishes, a driver who feels like the past. And Ricciardo knew it. You can tell, because he made the choice that split his career in half. He left Red Bull. And in that moment, the story wasn't Ricciardo is leaving to become champion. The story became, Ricciardo is leaving because Max is becoming unstoppable. Even if that wasn't fully true, perception matters in F1, and perception becomes reality. Now imagine how painful that is. You're still world-class. You still believe in yourself. But the world is starting to treat you like the second act in someone else's movie. And Verstappen's record-breaking rise is what made that movie permanent. Because when Max started stacking wins, when he started turning Sundays into routine domination, it didn't just elevate him. It erased the margin for error for every driver who wasn't him. And the drivers closest to him felt it first. This is why Ricciardo's career arc became one of the most tragic in the modern era. Not because he forgot how to drive, but because Formula One shifted around him. Teams changed, cars changed. The sport became more system-driven than ever. And Ricciardo's biggest strength, his aggressive, instinctive, late-breaking confidence, works best when the environment rewards boldness. When the car speaks clearly, when the team's identity feels stable. But when you bounce between teams, when you lose that feeling, when confidence starts cracking, that driving style becomes fragile, because it requires belief. And Max Verstappen's rise didn't just take wins. It took oxygen. Now let's talk about the hurt part. The story is basically saying Verstappen's record-breaking success became part of the chain reaction that pushed Ricciardo out of the spotlight. And you can argue about the details, but the theme is real. In Formula One, when a new king arrives, the old heroes don't get to fade slowly. They get replaced brutally. And Red Bull are the most ruthless team in the sport at doing that. So when Max's earliest record-breaking win became the symbol of Red Bull's new era, it created a standard that Ricciardo was always going to be measured against. Not fairly, not humanly, but relentlessly. Here's the sharp question that makes this story uncomfortable. If Verstappen never wins that early, if Red Bull never get that instant proof that promote the kid and win immediately works, does Ricciardo's Red Bull story end differently? Because the second that proof existed, Red Bull became addicted to the idea of instant dominance, and anyone not contributing to that dominance became a problem to solve. Now, if you're the kind of fan who enjoys these hidden consequences, how one historic moment can quietly destroy another driver's future, you're already subscribed. This is the real Formula One story. Not just lap times, but power shifts, psychology, and the way teams rewrite their own history. Now let's bring it back to what this means today. Ricciardo's career is now treated like a what could have been, while Verstappen is treated like inevitability. And that contrast is brutal, because Ricciardo wasn't some random driver. He was a superstar, a race winner, a personality the sport needed, someone who made F1 feel fun again. But Formula One isn't kind to fun. It's kind to winners, and Verstappen became the ultimate winner. So the payoff of this story isn't just Max broke a record and it hurt Daniel. The payoff is the deeper idea. Verstappen's rise didn't only change the standings. It changed careers. It changed decisions. It changed the team dynamic so hard that even a driver as talented as Ricciardo couldn't stay in the same orbit without being affected. And now we're watching a new version of that story repeat with every teammate who enters that Red Bull environment. Every driver who sits next to Max is stepping into a reality where they're not just fighting for points, they're fighting to protect their identity. And once your identity cracks in Formula One, your career follows. So let me end with a debate that fans will split on immediately. Do you think Ricciardo's decline was mostly the sport evolving and his own choices? Or do you think Verstappen's dominance and Red Bull's shift around him played a bigger role than people admit? Because one answer makes Ricciardo responsible. The other answer makes this sport look brutally unfair. And the truth is probably somewhere in the middle. If you want the next piece of this puzzle, the perfect follow-up is the story about Red Bull's 2026 unknown era. Because that's where Verstappen's dominance might face its first real stress test. And if that era changes the power balance again, we might see another career shift that nobody expects. The same way Ricciardo's world changed the moment Verstappen's record-breaking era began.